Good morning from Madera Canyon here in southern Arizona, south of Tucson. Today I'm going to be hiking Mount Wrightson, which is one of the Arizona 2,000 foot prominence peaks. So starting off here, walk down the road 3/10 of a mile up to Josephine Saddle, up to the Baldy Saddle, and then up to the summit. Mount Wrightson is 9,453 feet. Prominence, I believe, is over 4,000. So Mount Wrightson, I've been here before. My dad and I hiked this in mid-March of 2017. There were about, 8 or 10 cars parked around the trailhead, so I'm sure I'll see a few more people. I've seen about 5 people already. If you haven't been to Mount Wrightson before, there is a reason I'm doing this twice. It's a beautiful hike, great hike. I consider it one of the classic hikes in Arizona. Yeah, there's a lot of shade on this hike, a lot of cool scenery, beautiful views. But if you're new to hiking, or at least if you're new to bigger peaks, this is definitely a good one to start with. It's high enough so you get some experience with elevation. The elevation gain is pretty significant, about 4,000 feet. It's should be about a 10-mile round trip or so, maybe 11 at the most. This is Josephine Saddle here. There's a memorial to 3 Boy Scouts who lost their lives up here in 1958. All right, we made it to the Old Baldy Saddle. It should be about a mile from here, give or take a little bit. All right, we made it. Summit of Mount Wrightson. Cool. Glad to be back. I'll give you the 360 view from the summit. There's Baboquivari, and then Kit Peak and Coyote Mountain. You can see Guachi Peak. Barely see Newman Peak. Wasson Peak in the foreground of Newman. There's Mount Lemon. And Mica Mountain and Rincon Peak. And then Mount Graham further back. And then Apache Peak in the foreground. And then there's Miller Peak here. That other peak over there isn't too much lower than here, and I guess it looks like an observatory up there. And here's looking into Madera Canyon. I think I can see Josephine Saddle. I'm not 100% sure. I'm not going to zoom in on it though. It's maybe a little tough to make out. And I think around the starting point of the hike, the parking area down there in the center. Just need to see the contrasting areas of more vegetation and less, different colors in the rock and soil. It's beautiful. Man, I was hoping for a clearer day. It's been clear the past few days, but today is just more haze again. Oh well. It's later too than I usually get up to these summits. It's 11:50, it's almost noon. I'm debating on whether or not to do Mount Ian, which is the peak north of here, but if not, I'm just going to try to book it, get back as fast as I can, and then get home. Alright, leaving the summit of Wrightson. Spent about 33 minutes up here. Alright, well, if you haven't made it to Mount Wrightson before, definitely make it a point to get here. I was talking to a few people up there, and it was everyone's second time up. So obviously this mountain has somewhat of a draw. These sky islands are awesome. It's just so cool to have the variety between the low desert and the higher terrain up here. All right, I made it to the summit of Mount Ian, I believe. One cool view of Wrightson. And I can see still some people up there. Maybe it's the same people. All right, anyway, there's Wrightson, looking pretty awesome. Otherwise known as Old Baldy, I guess, or Mount Baldy, one of the 900 peaks or so in the United States that are named Baldy or some variation of Baldy. I don't know how many there are really, I just made that up, but there's a lot of them for sure. Well, right there are some of the switchbacks heading up to Wrightson. Those are the switchbacks in the rockier section, and then the trail goes around the backside before it makes its way up. I'm gonna relax here for a few minutes and then get back down to the trail and make it back. This is a little off-trail route just up to here. It's not much of anything. I'm almost back. I haven't filmed too much on the way back, and there's a reason. I actually started feeling really badly kind of on the way up to Ian, and then after Ian especially, I started feeling horrible. Anyway, I survived. I'm almost back. Gonna get changed as quickly as I can and get moving. All right, well, I'm on my way home, heading north into Tucson now. I'm starting to feel better. Anyway, the hike ended up being 11.85 miles with the trip to Mount Ian, and I think it was 4,400 feet of elevation gain, and 5 hours and 45 minutes, including all the breaks I took on the way back, and 33 minutes on the summit. I was really hoping to jog a lot of the way back, but there was no way in the world. I just was not feeling good enough to do that. Mount Wrightson, definitely a beautiful hike, one of the Arizona classics, and not too far from Tucson, really not too far from Phoenix either.